how do different generations value leadership styles in the workplace? When I conducted the research study in 2024, I was surprised to see the different generational factors that affect how people view or their ability to be happy and resilient at work based off of their leadership. The new report, the 2025 study on leadership and engagement, is out. We are now releasing those findings, and I want to share with you a few key factors that will help you, especially if you have a multi-generational workforce. Which generation feels like they have the ability to improve their emotional well-being and happiness the most? Is it Gen Z, Millennials, Boomers, or Gen X? Interestingly enough, I actually asked this question in my keynote on stretch capacity and generational differences. And when I'm asking the audience and polling the audience, 100% of the time, when I ask someone individually, they will say their own generation. They don't want to believe that any other generation is happier than their generation. Every single time I ask, they will tell me the name of their generation. I find that to be fascinating. The correct answer actually is millennials, according to the research that we did. Millennials are the generation that feels like they have the most ability to improve their emotional well-being and happiness, significantly more than Gen Z, Gen X, and other generations tested. I find that interesting because whether or not one generation is happier than another, what I love more is listening to people talk about thinking their generation is the happiest. That actually gives me hope, not only for America, but for workplaces in general. It means that each generation wants to be the happiest. In fact, one of the things that we found from our study is that 87% of working Americans say they deserve to be happier than they currently are. And they all want to be. And so even the happiest people that we surveyed, they all want to be happier than they currently are. That is on your side as a leader. If you are dealing with a multi-generational workforce and you are trying to figure out how to keep your employees happy because you know they are going to be more productive, more creative, more innovative, and better team players, then you know that this is a key component. Now, here's another thought. I'll just ask the question first and see what comes up in your mind. What generation says that their manager or management influences their resilience at work significantly more than any other generation? Is it Millennials, Generation X, or Gen Z? Once again, it is Millennials. 74% of Millennials believe that their manager or management influences their resilience at work significantly more than any other generation. Generation X clocked in at 65% and Generation Z clocked in at 67%. So those millennials are also, while they are the happiest, are saying that their manager or management influences their happiness the most at work. So they're looking to you as their leaders to determine whether or not or how they are going to show up based off of what they feel and think from you. And I think that is fascinating in and of itself for you to consider as a leader that they are looking to you and that determines their resilience and happiness at work. One of the other things that I found interesting in this study is what leadership traits are most influential on different generations. So for example, Gen Z, our youngest generation, values leadership traits like creativity, innovation, and emotional intelligence. And they do that significantly more than Generation X. They want not just some of the other things that we might say like stability or the ability to manage well. They're looking for some of those creative, innovative skills that they hope that they can see, not just because they want them from their leader, but because they want the flexibility to share their own creativity and their own innovation, even though they might have the least amount of experience in the workforce. 60% of younger millennials rate their overall happiness at work as high, which is interesting to me and it's even greater than Gen Z at 57%. So I love that younger millennials are happy at work, probably because they have a little bit more time established in their work and maybe even a little more experience within their specific organization. Now let's go up to the next generation of older millennials. They too value creativity and innovation from their leaders, and they look at it more than stability and authority. So they closely align to Gen Z values, even though it skips that generation. Now, Gen X is the one that is most likely to say that poor mental health and workplace dissatisfaction are the biggest drawbacks to having less happiness at work. So as you think about some of these different statistics, whether it's leadership traits or the things that they value most or how they approach happiness and resilience, then perhaps you'll be able to consider the ways that you lead your team to know how to balance what I consider the 2 A's in leading generational teams. One is authenticity and one is adaptability. And we can have all kinds of conversations and debates about whether it's more important to be authentic when you're dealing with more multi-generational teams, or if it's more important to be adaptable. But I have found that both are key if you are a leader trying to lead different individuals at different levels of the organization that have different levels of experience. So how can you bring your authentic self? How can you encourage everyone else to bring their authentic selves to the work table? And then also teach and model adaptability so that as we work together, we will have less conflict, better team unity, and better be able to be productive and focus on the work that is ahead of us. These little simple things, as you consider them in your own work environments and your own teams, will help you to better be able to create work environments that will help them to succeed. Now, I'm going to leave you with one final statistic. What percentage of working Americans say that if their boss was more resilient, it would help them to be more resilient? That number is actually a staggering 70%. Please know that they are looking to you as they are considering the different ways that they are affected by what's happening in the world, in the news, in their own homes. The resilience that you show will also model to them how they can be resilient in their own lives. So of course, just like any other leadership training that you've ever seen, do your own work first and model that behavior for the people that work with you and serve with you. We're cheering you on as you lead that generationally diverse team. You're welcome to come back here for additional resources. And until our next video, we will see you next time.